The blessing from Rabbul Alameen. The blessing from
Sayyiduna Zun Nun Misri rahmatullahi alayhi was born in Egypt during the reign of Mansur Abbasi. He was a slim figure with a reddish complexion and a thick black beard. But behind those simple features was a heart burning with love for Allah Almighty. One day, he witnessed something profound. A blind bird with no vision, no food, and no idea where to go, yet pure trust in Allah Almighty. He watched as Allah Almighty responded to that trust, feeding and guiding it. That moment changed his life. He left everything behind and set out to disconnect from the world while connecting with his Creator. Along his journey, he met others who shared the same yearning, and together they traveled like a caravan of seekers, all walking away from the world to please their Lord. On the path, they came across abandoned treasure. Everyone reached for the wealth, but Sayyiduna Zun Nun Misri rahmatullahi alayhi, he picked up a slate, a simple piece with the names of Allah Almighty. That night, he had a dream in which it was said, today wealth was being distributed, but Zun Nun rahmatullahi alayhi chose Allah Almighty and His remembrance. Now he is granted the treasure of knowledge, and the doors of knowledge are opened for him. Allahu Akbar. Look at what happens when you choose Allah over the world. Anyone would have chosen the treasure, but in that split-second decision, he rahmatullahi alayhi valued Allah Almighty and his initial commitment more than all else. The world offered him gold, but he chose Allah Almighty. Where others saw treasure in wealth, he saw it in remembrance. When you select Allah Almighty over the world, Allah Almighty gives you what the world can never offer. Time passed and hardship was a part of his life. He came to a point where he hadn't eaten properly in a while. So he told himself, I'll eat properly on Eid. He prepared to eat, but his nafs rejoiced, and that bothered him. So he pushed the food away and stood to pray instead, though it was Eid. A man arrived and said, I made a special meal this Eid. Last night, I saw the Holy Prophet ﷺ in a dream. He told me, if you wish to meet with me on the Day of Judgment, go and give this food to Zun Nun. Convey my message that for the time being, make peace with your nafs and taste some of this food. Upon hearing this message from the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said, how could an obedient servant hesitate in this? Saying this, he tasted a little of the food. Such was the level of taqwa of Sayyiduna Zun Nun Misri rahmatullahi alayhi, that even on a day of celebration, the day he committed to consume food properly after a long abstinence, he remained vigilant to the stirrings of his nafs. Where others would indulge, he chose restraint. He feared not the hunger of his stomach, but the satisfaction of his nafs. To him, true joy lay in obedience, not indulgence. Even his moment of nourishment had to be permitted by Allah Almighty and endorsed by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He passed away on the 2nd of Zulqa'dah, 245 AH. As his blessed body was carried out, flocks of birds shadowed his funeral, hovering above. And on the way to the funeral, while calling adhan, the muazzin reached the words, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. He raised his index finger. People were stunned. Is he still alive? Some wondered. But no, he had already returned to his Lord. Only then did those people of Egypt who didn't believe him finally realize who he was and feel ashamed. A wali of Allah Almighty, a saint of Allah, walking among them, whom they had failed to recognize while he lived. May we all have control over our nafs and commit to the path of Allah Almighty, just as Sayyiduna Zun Nun Misri rahmatullahi alayhi. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam.